Heyo, beautiful humans, and welcome to a KO video. I'm the next Taylor Swift, am I right? Anyway, y'all, today we're going to be talking about something pretty exciting, which is the release of a brand new Kao the Kangaroo demo. And so, it's not every day you get a demo for a game you're actually interested in. And so, I'm really excited to see that Kao has a demo out there because, yeah, we get to try it out and actually see how the game is shaping up and whether or not it's going to be a great product by the time it comes out. I mean, they still have, 4 months at least until this game comes out, and so they definitely have a lot of time to still make some adjustments here and there, but I think it's great that there's a demo out there because they can definitely take that feedback in and just make the game better than it might have been when it came out this summer. And so I took a look at the KO demo and have some opinions on it and such, both positive and negative. I think the game overall is looking to be pretty good, but it does have some work that needs to be done in order to make it a solid platformer in my eyes. And so let's go into those thoughts. What really hits you like a brick wall when you first hit the game though is the graphics, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, if you like being hit by brick walls, I guess. But anyway, the game looks absolutely gorgeous. It definitely has taken a lot of inspiration from Toys for Bob in terms of the art style. It looks like something ripped directly out of Spyro in particular, but no complaints here. I think that art style is great. I think more games should have an art style like that. At least in terms of detail and vastness and such, I feel like this game just looks amazing. And I was just in love with the whole look of it when I was playing this game. It was fantastic. You know, from KO's motto to the environments to the enemies to the special effects with the attacks and such. I think it just looks great. I have absolutely no complaints about it. I know not everyone loves the colorful platformer. I think some people do prefer the more dull colors of the PlayStation 2/GameCube era of video games, but I personally am all for this color and vastness. I think it is possible to overdo the colors, but I think KO does a good job of balancing things out. And so yeah, I think the game looks absolutely fantastic. In terms of music, I'll be perfectly honest, I can't remember the music at all. It was either really low or just not memorable in terms of melody at all, and so I'm hoping that we get some good catchy tunes here because I think the music they used for the trailer in particular was such a good choice. I was really hoping that sort of echoed the vibe of the game, but the music here I guess was probably just really ambient and just really calming and such, so I mean it does fit the level at least in some way. But I'm hoping that there's going to be some good tunes in there because it doesn't always have to be this like really calm and ambient music styling. You can have some good catchy music in there, you know, like the SpongeBob Dolphin Bikini Bottom game, for instance. That game had music that perfectly flowed in the background but at the same time was catchy as hell and was stuck in your head. And so yeah, that's just my opinion on that. We don't get a lot of story details here. We do get some hints of it though. I will say the most immediate thing that we can talk about is the voice acting.
No one saw? That was lucky. Wouldn't want that on Route 2.
Which, in my opinion, it's just interesting. I'm not really sure how to feel about it myself yet. I do think that the voice acting just takes some time getting used to. I don't know, it's something about the performance that it just wasn't really clicking with me when I was playing the game. I was expecting KO to have an Australian accent, I'm not gonna lie, but I suppose that might have been a bad move as well. So maybe they just didn't think that would really fit him. And so I think KO's voice is perfectly fine. It definitely reminds me like a good mix of Sonic and Spider-Man maybe, and maybe as I keep playing the game I'll get more used to his voice styling and such. This always happens to me with new voice actors, to be honest. I mean, whenever we got like a new voice actor in the Sonic series, for instance, it would always take me a little time to get used to that Sonic, and then I would get used to him, and then the voice actor would become more comfortable with the character as well. And so hopefully that's what happens here with KO in particular. I'm not sure if I would have preferred the gloves themselves to have voice acting though. I feel like that's kind of overdoing it a little bit just because you already have that koala following you around and being your little helper guy. Especially the gloves in this demo in particular, they seemed a little bit try-hard in my opinion, but as long as the game doesn't get overridden with voice acting, I think it's totally fine. You know, there's a perfectly good balance that needs to be hit between having actual voice acting in the game, but also making sure it doesn't take over the game either, because having really constant and repetitive voice acting can also be quite a drag on the game experience. One thing about the story that I found really interesting though is that apparently KO's dad has had some experience with these special gloves that KO is playing with, and and so I definitely think there's going to be some kind of lore behind the gloves that's going to be really interesting to learn about. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to consist of. But let's actually get into the gameplay itself, the definite main focus of a demo after all. And so the gameplay to me feels like a mix of Crash Bandicoot and SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom actually. The moveset definitely feels very Crash Bandicoot-like. You can double jump, you can attack, you can spin in the air and such. It definitely has that Crash feel to it. The levels, however, they are linear, but they also feel a little bit open as well. They all generally lead you from point A to point B, but they all have some hidden nooks and crannies here and there, which actually reminds me a lot of the structure of Battle for Bikini Bottom, except it's a little bit more restrictive. So I kind of like that personally, because while the character does kind of feel like Crash, at the same time the levels aren't really Crash Bandicoot levels. Like, you're not going to get those really intense platforming challenges here that you would expect with Crash Bandicoot, but there is still a bit of a challenge here, and the levels still have some platforming here and there, but the exploration seems like something that they're trying to incorporate as well, which is really cool because I like going to different sections of the level, trying to collect all the collectibles and such, and just making sure that I count all my eggs when I'm going through all the levels. The game has a lot of collectibles, by the way, like a ton. Like, not only do you have those donkey coins, but you also have gems, you have maps apparently. There's also 3 KO levels you need to collect, which I feel like is probably akin to spatulas in Battle for Bikini Bottom, stars in Mario Sunshine, etc, etc. And so I'm really interested in seeing what all these collectibles are actually for, because you would expect like a general currency collectible and such, and maybe some hidden things here and there, but this game has quite a few collectibles actually, so I'm interested in seeing what the purpose of all these are for. Not really sure if any of these come from previous games or not. I'm definitely going to go take a look at the older games just to prepare myself for Kao the Kangaroo this coming summer, but those are my thoughts on that right now.
Hey, what is that thing?
Don't!
It's not me!
Platforming feels pretty good. It's not too tight and not too slippery, but I feel like there were some issues here and there in terms of movement. Like, I remember this once part of the demo where I was trying to jump up to this ledge and I thought I was going to grab onto it, but Kao didn't grab onto it for some reason, but he would grab onto like other ledges, and so I'm not really sure what's up with that. I think that's just some kind of nooks and crannies that the developers just need to sort through just to make sure that's all well and done by the time the game comes out. And there was just some weird collision things I ran into here and there as well, but hopefully it's stuff that gets ironed out at the game's launch and such. I don't think it's anything major. I do think it's still a pretty solid and playable platformer. It's just a little bit of quality assurance that needs to be done just to make sure the game is up to its best state by the time it comes out. There's also some combat in this game, like arguably more combat compared to most platformers, and there wasn't really any issues with it actually. I thought the combat worked perfectly fine. It's very simplistic, you just mash a button, but the more you punch an enemy, the more this special gauge fills up, and if the gauge fills up enough, then you can actually press another button and then you'll do a special attack, which is kind of like a Chaos Blast kind of thing from Shadow the Hedgehog, except not nearly as explosive as it was in Shadow the Hedgehog, and so that adds a little bit more variety. I hope there's some other combat things that get added into it if combat is going to be a good part of the game, you know, just to make it a little bit more interesting. But it's pretty simple and doesn't take up too much time, and so I don't really have too many issues with it. I do think it's going to be very interesting to see how enemies will evolve from the first level and seeing what other strategies you need to go with to attack these enemies, because there's not really much you can do right now with Kao with his current moveset, but I'm assuming as he gets more gloves he'll have some more combat alterations as well, and so that might contribute to more diversity. But overall, my general thoughts about the demo is that I thought the game was pretty good. It's nothing too out there in terms of platforming. It's a lot of what you would expect for a general platformer. It's actually kind of something that I wouldn't be surprised to see like a licensed game take on in terms of this kind of moveset and such. So I do think that Kao needs to have some more interesting additions to the game just to make it stand out more within the platforming genre, because right now to me it doesn't really feel like a really unique and interesting platformer that I would pick over other platformers per se. However, it's still looking like a really solid platformer itself, and Kao definitely seems like a likable character, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know him more. I'm just hoping that the gloves gimmick that they're putting in here does do more for the character himself and the game just to make it stand out more. But overall, I had a fun time with it, and I just love platformers, and so I'm happy. As long as it's a solid platformer, then I'll pick it up and play it, because we don't have enough of that in this day and age when it comes to video games. Like, platformers are still kind of scarce. They definitely seem like they're making a comeback, but definitely not compared to before when they were the main star of the gaming industry. And so anytime you see a solid platformer there, you know, I'm gonna be the first in line to pick it up, because it looks really good. As long as the game is solid, then I'm gonna be happy with it. But I think if they want KO to make a really big impact on this industry, then they're gonna have to show some big guns and make KO stand out more in some other ways. So hopefully the gloves do that. I'm really interested in seeing what the gloves can do for the rest of the game, because it definitely can be an interesting gimmick that brings in a lot of people and interested eyes, but they have to market it right, and they have to make sure that it incorporates itself well into the game itself. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on Kao the Kangaroo so far. You can actually go ahead and play this demo as well. It's available on Steam right now. It's part of Steam Next Fest, I think it's what it's called. So an online virtual gaming convention that has a ton of demos available to play, like not just KO but so many other games. I haven't even taken a look at it to see what other games are out there, but definitely a lot of things to choose from. So if you're in the mood for trying some new things, then definitely go check it out. But Kao the Kangaroo is definitely up there, and my laptop is pretty shitty, so I was able to run it perfectly fine. I had to do at the lowest graphic settings possible, so not the most optimal viewing experience, but still a playable game. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got a demo on the console versions too, because I mean, we have a demo on the PC version, and so it's safe to say that maybe a demo on the console versions is not out of the question either. But yeah, check out the demo, let me know your thoughts, and let me know if you're excited for Kao the Kangaroo, or if you have some concerns that you want to bring up here. Love to read the comments, hear your thoughts, and just yeah. And so go ahead and hop into that demo. Okay, I'm done. Thank you so much for watching this video. Special shout out to my patrons: New Gamer Hub, Team Rattle Sign Gamer, Trash Q, Claw84. These are my patrons / YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member, get access to a whole bunch of different perks, and please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.